Good morning, guys. It appears I have my microphone on, I believe. So I'm going to redo this lecture that I did last night. And so basically we've gotten to the point where we're going to go over how a bill becomes a law. Now generally I have you guys write an essay on this. As you can see, there's 6 steps. I think I'm going to get through 4 of them today, and then the last 2 I'll do tomorrow. But you can kind of see this graphic over here. It kind of follows along through the steps that we're going to be talking about. And then, of course, the classic I'm Just a Bill video, which you can YouTube. It's like 3 minutes long. Now it's very obviously thin, doesn't go into much detail. And we're not going to go into a horrendous amount of detail here. With my other class, I do 13 steps. But I'll be talking about some of the gaps that I don't have in the notes and so forth, just to kind of explain it. But here we go. I'm not going to have you guys do any questions today. I'm still grading the ones from last week and just kind of making some adjustments here with the class as we go through this. Okay, so step number 1, referral to committee. Okay, on this slide, guys, you can see anybody can write a bill, but only a member of Congress can sponsor a bill. Okay, even the President of the United States can submit his budget or something like that to Congress, but he can't introduce a bill. Only a member can. Now, once you introduce a bill, it gets a number. So House Resolution 5150 or something like that, it'll get a number. And then most bills are referred to a committee. Okay, this is crucial in the life or death of that bill. Okay, so the Speaker of the House and the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, gets to decide which committee each bill goes to. Okay. Why is that so important? Because Nancy Pelosi knows all the chairs of all the committees, because all the chairs in the House are Democrats of all the committees. Okay, there's 19 of them, and she can send it to any committee she wants. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with the bill, because she may know that one of those committee chairs doesn't like the bill, and they'll never put it on the calendar. You can see Manny there in the background. But anyhow, in the Senate, the presiding officer, which I'll explain, guys, is the Senate Majority Leader. Okay, the Senate Majority Leader gets to refer bills to committee there. Okay, so why is this a powerful tool? Because this will affect the life of the bill. Okay, so let me give you a good example here. Okay. Let's say some of you have been to Colorado, and they've been having trouble with something called the pine beetle, and it's been killing all these pine trees in Colorado. Well, let's say they came up with a new pesticide that was going to help kill the pine beetle. But if the pesticide got into the groundwater, it wouldn't be healthy and that sort of thing. So let's say Nancy Pelosi doesn't like this bill. So she could send it to a committee that has more of an environmental stance, people that don't want these pesticides to be used and so forth, knowing that the committee chair would never put it on the calendar and it would die there. There's a term for that. It's called a pigeonhole. Okay. If Nancy Pelosi liked the bill and wanted to, save these trees and so forth, you could send it to a more friendly committee like the Agriculture Committee that is used to using, pesticides and that sort of thing. Therefore, it would go to the chair of the Agriculture Committee. He would put it on the calendar, and it would make it to step 2. Okay, this really shows the power of the committee chairs. It shows the power of the leadership to control any bill that goes through one of these 2 bodies. Now, something I've taught you this, is that anytime they're going to spend money or tax you, these bills have to start in the House of Representatives, not in the Senate, okay? Because they're closer to the people. So listen, most bills will start in the House because most bills spend money. Okay, so once a bill goes through the House, it generally goes over to the Senate if it passes the House. And then that bill's going to look different in the Senate because the rules are different and you have 100 different people there. Okay, so let's say we get a bill referred to a committee, the chair puts it on the calendar, we go to step 2, okay, which is called hearings. Okay, they want to study this. They want to know what's good and what's bad about this bill, what the implications of this bill were. Why do we need this law? Okay, so they will go to committee or subcommittee hearings. These are usually open to the public, and all the members don't always attend these, but staff can sit in and ask questions and so forth in some of these committees. All right, so who's coming to testify? Well, I've got some pictures down here of people that are going to come testify either in favor of the bill or in opposition to the bill. I have over here Bill Gates. You might, remember this guy. His name's Mark McGuire. Got him over here on a Wheaties box. He's hit 70 home runs in a year, which broke his own record. But before that, that record was held by Babe Ruth, and then Roger Maris in 1961 broke Babe Ruth's record. So Mark McGuire was there testifying about steroids in baseball, of which he partook, and then lied to Congress about it. But anyhow, this is John Kerry. You probably heard that name. He was a Vietnam vet, and this is him testifying in front of Congress at a hearing in opposition to the Vietnam War. This is Richard Gere. He's a famous actor, and he's an activist. You know, he has a lot of causes he supports, and he's testified in front of Congress. And then this right here is Lars Ulrich. He's the drummer for Metallica. And guys, the thing is, when you bring in celebrities like this, or people like Bill Gates, this is what a hearing room looks like. Okay, I've got, no, that's the wrong one. This is what a hearing room looks like. Let's see if I can get that on there good. Okay, so this is the table that these people are sitting at in the pictures, okay? And then up here are the members of the committee, okay? Now, you'll notice this committee has more people. So if we're in the House, those would be the Democrats, and then the Republicans would be in the minority. They would have fewer seats on the committee. So if they vote, you know who's going to win, right? In the Senate, the Republicans have more than the Democrats because they are the majority. Okay, so this is what a room looks like, and then the people that come to testify sit here. The committee people will ask them questions, and people will testify. Okay, that's what the room looks like. If you were watching the impeachment stuff, they had committee hearing rooms and so forth. Okay, so that's pretty easy to kind of just Google that or YouTube it and look it up. Okay, so. But it's not always celebrities. But when the celebrities show up, so do all the members, because the media shows up and they're going to be taking pictures and filming it. And this gives a chance for members of Congress on those committees to get their face on TV, which is always good when they're running for re-election and so forth. Okay, so as I said, supporters and opponents testify. Okay, sometimes it's public officials, like I don't know who this guy is, okay? He is a public official that is testifying. Sometimes interest groups or ordinary citizens will testify, okay? I want to tell you a quick story about what impact an ordinary citizen can have. Some of you may have heard of something called Megan's Law. Megan's Law it was passed because of a situation that happened to a young girl named Megan. Her and her family lived in a neighborhood that they thought, was a safe neighborhood where kids could go out and play and not have to worry about their kids and that sort of thing. And well, what Megan and her family didn't realize is that a convicted sex offender had moved into their neighborhood. Nobody knew that he was there. And so Megan became his next victim. And, It's a horrible story, but Megan's mother contacted her member of Congress and said, there ought to be a law that warns people that these people that have gotten out of jail are, moving into their neighborhood. And so, guys, after she testified, there was really not a dry eye left in the room. And she had a huge impact, and they passed Megan's Law, which basically says convicted sex offenders have to register with the communities that they live in and warn the people that they live there. Okay, so some of you have heard of this. There's an app on your phone you can get, or you can look it up on the internet and see where these folks live near you, in your neighborhood or near your neighborhood. And guys, it's pretty shocking to see how many there are walking the streets of Wichita. It's really kind of scary. So anyhow, these hearings can have a big impact. Okay, obviously Democrats are going to bring in people that support their view. Republicans are going to bring in people that support their view. Okay, but that's the hearing process. All right, then we move over to step number 3. Okay, and step number 3 is called markup. Okay, so when we talk about markup, I want you to think of like when I graded your first essay, the first test you took, or you turned in a paper for Mr. Barber. Teachers are going to mark that up, tell you what you did right, what you did wrong, and if you get to do a rewrite, you can change the phrasing to make more sense and not have run-on sentences and that sort of thing. Okay, so in the Senate and the House do it a little bit different, no big deal here, but subcommittees have hearings. If they approve the bill, the full committee will have markup. Okay, and the House markup takes place in both the sub and full committees. Okay, now with this, guys, this is the line-by-line phrasing. Guys, they have lawyers in the room. They're making sure the impact of this law. How much is it going to cost? Are you going to have to raise taxes? What impact does this have on existing laws? All kinds of things they have to consider about this bill. Okay, crucial decisions made here. This is where the real debate takes place. So you may have 23 members on this committee. They're the ones that are doing all the work on it. The other members of Congress or the House or Senate, they're off doing their own thing. So these are very important. This is a very important part of the process. Okay, so this session is open to the public. It's genuine debate. After markup, the bill has to be approved by the full committee or it dies. So if you have 23 members, you just need a majority vote. Okay, so that would be 12? 12 of the 23 to say yes, we want this bill to move forward. Okay, now here's a key part of this. If it's approved by the committee, a report is compiled that explains the changes and major arguments of the bill. Guys, this is like a summary of the bill. So some of these bills are 2, 3, 4, 5, thousands of pages long in some cases. So members don't have time to read all that. Okay, now should they read them? Yes. Okay. Certainly they'll have somebody in their staff read it and that sort of thing and report back to them. But these reports that come out of the committees are a summary of all the major parts of the bill. Okay, it tells you how much it does cost, whether you will need a tax increase, what impact this will have, and so forth. So this report is going to help the other members that are not on the committee understand what this bill is. And most members will make their decision on how they're going to vote, not by reading the whole bill, but by reading this report, that's what makes it so important. Okay, so that's your first 3 steps. You got referred to committee by the leadership. The committee chairs will decide whether it goes on the calendar or not. Then they'll set up hearings and then do markup. Okay, if it passes through the committee here and they write a report, we go to step 4. Okay, and step 4 is probably the most complicated of all the steps. All right, so we talk about floor consideration, step 4. Okay, now this is the Senate over here. Okay, there's 100 desks. They all have individual desks. All right, this is the House. The House has 435 members. So It's got to be bigger, and they use benches with tables instead of individual desks. All right. The rules for standard operating rules that guide the passage of these bills on the floor. Okay. The rules include procedures for voting, how and when it will be admitted to the floor, and how business will be conducted. Here's the business. Are they going to debate it? How long are they going to talk about this on the floor? I mean, in the House, guys, you have 435 members. If you're going to give everybody a chance to debate it, that's going to take a really long time. Okay. Are they going to allow any changes or amendments to the bill? So what the committee passed, that bill, are they going to allow people to add things to it, change it, or is it just going to be we're just voting on what came out of the committee? Okay, so strict rules increase the importance of the committee's work, because the bill that the committee put out is not going to change. So they better have done a good job. Okay. But if there are less strict rules, which means they allow for more changes to the bill once it comes to the floor, then it doesn't, the committee's bill is going to change. Okay. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. Less strict rules open the bill up for changes by the full House or Senate. Okay. Now we're going to get into some of the specifics of the House versus the Senate. Okay. We'll start with the House because most bills start there. Okay. So actually, when a bill leaves a committee and is sent to the floor, it'll go to the House Rules Committee first. And they are going to set the rules for each bill. An open bill allows members to add amendments that relate to the subject at hand. So if it's a bill on pesticides using on these trees, okay, they can allow changes to say that this can only be used during these 3 months. Okay. After that, they can't use it anymore. Okay, you can maybe only use it during the summer months or the winter months or something like that. Okay, so this would allow some changes. Closed, what comes out of the committee is what we're voting on. No changes allowed to that bill. Modified would allow some parts of the bill to be modified, but not others. Okay, these rules are not easily changed. Now, this picture down here, guys, is the State of the Union Address 2004. So George W. Bush is up in here. Okay, and then you have all the members of the House, 435, all 100 senators, and then you throw in here all the guests, and then down here you have some Supreme Court justices, the Army Joint Chiefs of Staff, and so forth that are invited to attend this as well. Because you have the President, the Speaker of the House, and the Vice President all sitting really close to each other. Those are the first three in line. If a bomb were to go off in here, guys, then you'd have a problem. Who would become president? Well, the fourth in line is the Senate President pro tempore, who's also in the room. And then you have some cabinet members here. So they always leave at least one cabinet member home from the State of the Union, and they call that the designated survivor. Some of you might have seen that TV show, okay? But that's what it looks like during the State of the Union address here, okay? All right, so these are the House rules. Then we move over to the Senate. Now, hopefully you guys have watched Mr. Smith is Going to Washington, okay? And so here we go. The rules of the Senate there are no rules, okay? There are no strict rules. There's no time limits on debate and no limit on the number of changes or amendments you make to the bill. Unless, if you can get what's called a unanimous consent agreement, okay, this means all 100 senators agree to set limits on debate. So we're only going to debate this for 1 hour. That gives each side 30 minutes. And we're not going to allow any changes to the bill. If all 100 senators agree to that, now you have rules. But if one member of the Senate does not agree to the unanimous consent agreement, then you open the door for what we saw in the movie, which of course is a filibuster. Okay, you got Joe Biden down here. He was a senator once. Okay, so with unanimous consent, you can place limits on debate or amendments. If one senator doesn't go along, he can tie up the entire Senate. Okay, basically giving every senator veto power over the rules of the bill. Okay, gives each senator a lot of power. Good. All right, so this takes us to Mr. Smith, and you would recognize this from the movie if you watched it. Okay, a filibuster. Congressional procedure that allows one or more senators to hold up the final vote on a bill through delaying tactics. Now, if it's one senator like Mr. Smith, he talked and talked and talked. You have to stand and you have to talk. Okay, those are the two rules for a filibuster. Of course, you have to be recognized by the chair. And once you get recognized, you can hold the floor. Now, if you have two senators that team up, you can talk, yield the floor to your buddy. He can talk. You can go take a break, come back. He can yield to you, and you guys just keep going. If you have a whole party, so in the Senate right now, you have 47 Democrats, okay? So if the Democrats say, we're going to filibuster, there's nothing the Republicans can do, because they could just do that all night into the next week and the next month, and nothing would get done if they were filibustering. So if a whole party says we're going to filibuster, the other party usually doesn't even bring up the bill because they got other business to do. Okay, so they're going to have to compromise with the other party in order to get anything done. Okay, so now, what the movie didn't show you in 1939, there was a rule that had been established that 2/3 vote in the Senate could stop a filibuster. That's called a cloture. Okay, so I think at one point in the movie, you probably could have got 2/3 of the Senate to agree to stop Senator Smith. Okay, in 1975, they reduced that threshold to 60 votes, which is 3/5. So here's the thing, guys. If one of the two parties has 60 votes, 60 seats, the other party cannot stop them with a filibuster, because all they'll have to do is pass a cloture, okay, to stop that person from talking, okay? So that in the movie in that point was a little historically inaccurate. Now, there have been some very famous filibusters in real congressional history. The longest filibuster by a single individual was just over 24 hours by a senator called Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act, trying to stop its passage. Now, guys, obviously that doesn't sound very good, and it wasn't. He was a segregationist, and but he went on by himself for 24 hours, okay? And then kind of a funny one from not too long ago is Ted Cruz did a filibuster. I think he was filibustering Obamacare, and it's kind of funny. I'll attach a clip to it. He's actually going to read Dr. Seuss from the floor of the Senate, which is pretty funny. So, guys, you can kind of see going on here with filibusters. All right. I'm gonna stop here, and tomorrow I'll pick up with the last two steps in how a bill becomes a law, and then I'm also going to walk you through, using my handy dandy boards here, how Obamacare became law, because it's really interesting what was going on, because there is going to be a senator that dies. It's going to impact the whole passage of the bill, and the ability to filibuster and so forth. So I'll take you back to 2009 and go with that. Okay. So hey, I hope you guys are well. On a current event note, watching the coronavirus, the rate of increase slowed Sunday. For the first time since Monday. The number of new cases actually slowed down instead of continued to rise, which is good news. Obviously, New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and California, really some hot spots. But I think if you guys keep doing what we're doing, stay away from large groups and so forth, we're gonna beat this thing. So. Hey, you guys have a good day, and I'll also attach that little Ted Cruz video. And you guys take care. No questions today. No homework today. Just please watch the video. And if you haven't watched Mr. Smith, come on, watch it. Talk to you later.